Welcome to another episode of the Sipping and Tripping podcast, where we connect with amazing people. Today's topic is death, grief, and living a good life. I am your host, Desmond Black, and the person that's sipping and tripping with me today is a transformational coach helping others create their best life. She's a registered nurse and a licensed board certified massage therapist. She is none other than Miss Christine Bailor-Goolander. How you doing, and how's your week so far?
It is great, Desmond. Glad to be here with you today.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it's only Monday, but it kickstart the week. So sometimes people say that my Monday start off bad, the rest of the week is bad. So
no, Monday started good, so we're on a good roll. Hopefully the rest of the week stays the same, right?
Yeah, that's always the mindset.
It is.
So are you, or have you ever been married before?
I am currently, yes. I am married. I have 2 grown children and 1 grandson.
Okay. So how long you been married?
Oh, let's see. 142 years. No, going on 39 years.
Oh my goodness, that's longevity. I just said this yesterday. Wow, my hat goes off to you because I know that's a lot of work. A lot of ups and downs, a lot of bumps and bruises.
It can be, but it's rewarding nonetheless.
39 years. Did you go to high school together, or you met afterwards? How that work?
No, we met after. We were both in college, and he actually worked with one of my friends, and a bunch of people. She said, "We're going out." A bunch of people are going out, so I went out with them, and that's how we met.
Love that. Yeah. You have any siblings?
I do not. I'm an only.
Oh my goodness. How was that growing up?
It's it has its ups and downs. It's nice because there's a lot of things, kids you don't have to share, you don't have to, all those fun things. But I think you grow up faster when you're an only because you spend a lot of time around adults.
That could go both ways though, because growing up with siblings, if you're the older one, oftentimes our parents put that responsibility on us to take care of them, to do the things they don't feel like doing. Yep. So I mean, I understand what you're saying though, but yeah, that's rough. I couldn't imagine being the only.
Yeah, it's not so bad. I actually didn't mind it. I have 2 children, so they don't have that experience, but I thought it was pretty good. I did all right.
Oh my goodness. Some of these comments I don't even put on here. It's just crazy. But okay, so let's see. And you said you had 2 kids, you said?
I do. Both grown.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Boys, girls?
One of each.
Nice. See, that's always nice as well. Early on when I was like 17, I always said I wanted 2 boys and a girl, but the 2 boys always wanted back to back. Thank God I didn't have kids at 17 because my life would have been upside down.
Yes, it would have
been. But I have 4 kids now, and they're a blessing. So
that's great.
I tell people
boys, girls.
I have 3 boys and 1 girl.
3 boys and a girl.
So it was boy. Then I finally had a daughter. So
There you go.
So
that was the plan, right? The plan was if we had 2 of the same sex, and we'd try for a third, but we had 1 of each, and I'm like, you know what? That's good. That's healthy. We're good.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because I went for a long time. I was like, I guess it ain't in my cards to have kids, and then I had my first, and then I thought that was over, because the relationship didn't work out. So then. Yeah, then I got a new relationship and then had one, and I thought that was it, to be honest. And then 2023, and then 2024, and I was like, oh my goodness. And now, they all hyperactive, and I'm like, this is different. It's challenging, but that's what we're here for.
That's right.
Gotta cherish the kids and do the best you can as a parent. That's it.
It's the best. That's all you can do is try.
Where are you from, and where did you grow up?
So I live right now in Williamsville, New York. So that's a suburb of Buffalo. So I grew up not too terribly far from here as well. So I've been pretty much a New Yorker my entire life, as far away
What?
from New York City as possible. But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not bad. So I'm in Jersey, so we like neighbors states and
yeah,
stuff. So
yeah, yeah.
and the city is crazy. It's hectic. I was just out there. Ooh, Wednesday, Tuesday, one of those days.
Hmm.
It's just like it just sucks to drive out there. It really do. I don't know how people survive. And plus, it's so expensive. You know, you go into a
Hmm.
an event. You go to the parking garage, and for like 2 hours, it's $85. You're like, good God.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And and I don't smoke, but I feel bad for the smokers. Like for just a pack of cigarettes is like
Hmm.
$22. And I'm
Oh
like, I don't need to smoke that bad.
no,
You know, so
no, that's too
but
much. Way too much.
people buy cartons out there like it's 10 cents. I'm like,
Yeah,
hey,
well, that's their thing.
I guess.
Yeah, yes.
So, are you religious?
Am I religious? I don't know if I'm religious as much as I am spiritual. And I
Okay.
know that that sounds like a cop out when people say things like that, but I was raised Catholic.
Okay.
Went to Catholic. I went to Catholic school my entire life, even into college, and then it became this. I don't know, the bureaucracy and what I found to be hypocrisy in the system is what I didn't like. You know,
Gotcha.
I'm all about God and all, and the love and all of those things, but that the systematic piece of it was not hitting home for me.
I got you.
So
Ain't nothing wrong with,
yeah.
a lot of people say they spiritual, and up until recently, most of my guests said they're not religious, but they're spiritual. But it's crazy because I just started my spiritual journey like 2.5 months, and since then, my guests have been saying yes, they're religious. So
Mhm.
it's crazy. I mean, I don't know if that's divine or if God's trying to speak to me, but I know ever since I took that journey, this walk,
Mhm.
a lot of sisters and brothers of God have come into my life,
Mhm.
and the people that I've wanted to be there for me are not there anymore. It's just people that's of the faith have been there for me and
Yeah.
keeping me grounded. So my hat goes off to them as well. So,
Yeah, it's
but
it's
yeah, all
it's
right,
interesting. It's interesting when when you sort of find your space in faith that
right,
that I guess the Lord brings people to you, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's I don't know. He reaches you at the most unexpected times. It's just
Mhm.
like sometimes it'd be like an awkward moment or a space, and then people will just come and start talking about the Bible, and or a guy like 3 months ago, I would have been like, no, we're not doing this. But now I hear God, religion, faith. I'm more receptive to it,
Mhm.
I'll stop and I'll pause and I'll listen. So
Yeah.
it's cool. It's nothing but positivity has come my way.
Good.
So hey, that's positive. I'm all about positivity. So it's
Yeah,
good.
absolutely. That's wonderful.
So on this platform, I like to conversate, educate, and entertain. And with that
Mhm.
being said, I just want to open up and ask you my first question of the day.
You got it.
Well, besides the preliminary questions,
Right, right.
so what does an end of life grief coach actually do?
Okay, so end of life doula is there. It's non-medical. Okay, so that takes that nursey piece right out of it. The strange thing is a lot of us are nurses, but it you don't have to be a nurse or a medical professional to be an end of life doula. And I also, so as a coach and a doula, I kind of bring my worlds together, and you are really with that person or their family or both during a time of transition for them. So we can
Uh-oh.
start it at any time with
You still
someone's
you
life.
still
We
with me?
can, start right.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, no, it went out
Can
for a
you hear me?
minute, but yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, it might be that somebody just wants to get things together for the end. They're preparing. They know, what do I need to do to get everything together? Well, wills, estates, things like that. We're going to guide them in that direction to the right person to do all of that. And, talk about things like, what do you want to have happen at the end of your life? How do you, what's a good death to you? What does that mean? to
Right.
someone. So, you're working on all of those things. And then you're also spending time with people who are, maybe staring death in the face. I have a terminal illness and doctor said I have XYZ amount of time left. Here are the things I need to get together. And we kind of walk through that and figure out how you can still have a good life while you're looking at the end.
Right. So how do you differ from a hospice staff?
Okay, so hospice works with people. For the most part, you have to have a diagnosis that's going to say you have 6 months or less to live. Okay, it's not carved in stone, but that's really like their entrance to
Right.
to hospice care. So hospice is going to provide nurses that come out maybe once a week or once every couple weeks to see how you're doing. They may have some aid service to come in and do, help you with daily living kinds of activities and that. Our, and they have spiritual guidance as well. So they have ministers and, priests and whatever, social workers. We come in, we're filling the gaps. So if a family needs to, maybe have some respite time and there's not, hospice is short staffed. They only can cover so much. We're going to come in on the other end and say, yeah, go to dinner, go do your thing. We're going to sit with your person and be there for them and have those conversations and all of those. So that's really where we differ. We're more of an adjunct than we are a replacement. We work together, not in concert, not in opposition.
Okay. So what drew you to this work?
Uh, Most people, what draws people to the work, most people have had some type of experience with death or loss or grief in their life. I mean,
Right.
that stands to reason. If you're alive, at some point you're going to experience that. What really sort of pushed me forward was thinking about patients that I've had over the years. That and one patient in particular that I always say he's my reason. Um, he This was at the height of the AIDS epidemic at that point, and I had this patient who desperately wanted to go home, but there was nowhere for him to go. He had no family. He had no means to care for himself, and you can't send somebody home by themselves and let them just be. So he ended up being in the hospital, and the thing that really moved me was no one ever came to see him. No one saw him. No one visited. No one, I think, and I look at it and say, I think I was the only person who did. And and at that point, he wasn't on my assignment anymore because he wasn't going to be able to go home. So I didn't need to be there, but I wanted to be there. So, I would visit him and he ended up, the short of the story is he ended up dying alone. And I don't think anybody should ever do that. I don't
Right.
think anyone should die alone. Um, and
Yeah,
not
it
because
sounds like
it's,
it's
go ahead.
I was saying it sounds like that's be a terrible way to go out. You look up and it's in, and when you look up, there's just nobody there.
Yeah.
It's one thing to deal with that when you're in good health and good spirit, but when it's the end and nobody's there for you and nobody's there to
Mhm.
comfort you, console you, or to speak to you in your final days, I know that's got to be one of the worst feelings in the world.
Yeah. I mean, and they say people, even if they're comatose or semi comatose, they can still hear. They can still, feel a touch. It doesn't mean they can respond, but they know you're there in
Right.
some capacity. And so for me, that was, yeah, nobody should die alone, and
Mm.
there needs to be somebody, and we need to help people with that. And so that's what really kind of drove me to investigate in the first place.
Got you. So, why do you think our culture avoids talking about death?
Fear, plain and
Fear.
simple, fear. I've had people tell me, like, I've done panels where I've brought other death doulas on, or I've brought oncology on, lawyers, funeral directors, and I say, come to this event. We're going to talk about all the things that somebody needs to know. And I literally had someone say, oh, I couldn't possibly talk about death. And when I asked them why, they said, because I'm afraid that if I talk about it, it's going to happen sooner. And my standard line is always, well, the invisible date on the bottom of your foot isn't going to occur any sooner than it is supposed to. That,
Right.
If you talk about it, and you need to talk about it, because we need to plan. We need to have an idea of what's before us. And what I think people miss out on is the opportunity to make life so much easier and better for the people you leave behind.
Right.
By, pre-planning and setting up and looking for what can happen, what good can happen after this.
Okay, got you. Now, a lot of us may say, "Oh, why are you asking this question? We already know the answer." But that's where a lot of people go wrong. Sometimes we feel like we got all the answers, but then they hear somebody speaking that, "Oh, I didn't know that." So I say that to say this: what is grief really?
Grief is really love that has no place to go. You're looking, I love this person so much, these individuals so much, and now they're gone. And what do I do with that love? I have loved you for so long. I have, you've been a huge part of my life, and now you're not there anymore. Where does that go? And it really is, grief comes out of love.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess when you break it down, because to grieve somebody, it's because you're losing something you cared for deeply.
Right.
So that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
mean, because
speaking about
you say, oh, so and so, passed away, might not, but if they don't have, you don't have that connection,
connection,
you feel bad that
yeah,
someone has passed, but you don't necessarily have that same connection. So the grief process is different.
right. So speaking about grief,
Yes.
what is the biggest misconception about grief?
Oh, one of the biggest misconceptions about grief is that it's linear, or that it's something you should get over. And that's not. Grief is a roller coaster. You
Right,
can wake up today and feel pretty okay, and as the afternoon hits and something just triggers in you, and it morphs, it changes, it becomes a part of life. It becomes an expression of love for that particular individual, but it never goes away. For example, I can say that my father's been gone for 36 years, and there are still moments when, if I'm in whatever kind of place I might be in, I might say, geez, I really miss my dad. And I might, I'm in the shower and I'm crying because I feel that pain again. So
right.
it never completely leaves us. It just morphs and changes, and we learn that it becomes part of our life.
So okay. So is it a such thing as a good grief? Like, and if so, what does health grieving look like?
What does healthy grieving look like? Healthy grieving is your ability to have it expressed the way you want it to be expressed. So if you need to bawl your eyes out, you go for it. Okay. If you need to, if you need to go walk in nature and feel your person there, that's perfect. It's however you perceive your ability to grieve, and be able to not let anybody else tell you how it should happen.
Right.
Because people always want to try to make you feel better. It's always your thing is, I don't know what to do for this person. I want to make them feel better. Well,
Right.
the way you make them feel better is to tell them that you understand and allow them to grieve in whatever way they need to.
Right. Yeah, I see that because a lot of people they try to say all the right things and try to do all the right things, but when a person is grieving, and in those moments, it's like they really just need to figure it out on their own. They need that space and that opportunity
Mhm.
to clear their head and gather their thoughts and compose themselves.
Mhm.
And the more we bombard them with solutions or for what we see as solutions, it's just making it worse, right? Because you're not allowing their mind to settle a little bit and calm. It's already a million miles a second, and now you're just throwing a curveball, and their mind is
Mhm.
already in a race. So yeah, the best thing like you said, is to let them have that moment, allow them to grieve however they see fit. Um,
It,
so
it is. It's yeah.
go
And
ahead.
one of the other things is that people love to say in, I don't know what to call them, platitudes maybe,
Right.
and say, "Gee, they're in a better place."
Hmm.
There's all of those kinds of things. Well, are they? I don't know.
Right.
Are they in a better place, or it's a much better thing that and those are tough to deal with because you may or may not believe that that's really what's happening.
Right.
It's those
Right.
going to the funeral homes. I mean, I can remember when my father passed away, one of my aunts, I was standing at the wake, and one of my aunts said, "Doesn't he look good?" And it just triggered me, and I looked at her and I said, "No, he looks dead." Uh,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I was like, wow, did that just come out of my mouth? But good. you know so it is just letting a good grief is a lot, is whatever you need to do to make that happen.
Right. And like I said, I know that's not always easy. And to add to what you just said, I know when I've grieved and people say, "Oh, the person in a better place," especially before this journey, the
Hmm.
spiritual journey,
Hmm.
that's the last thing I want to hear, right?
Exactly.
Because we all want our loved ones here on earth with us. So to say they're in a better place, what you're saying is, oh, it doesn't matter. Or at least that's what the conscious mind hears, is you
Hmm.
saying they don't matter, they're not here no more, they're out the way. Right. So
Yeah.
I agree with you like that because for me it was always a pet peeve. They're in
Hmm.
a better place. Man, who are you to say that? So
Right.
I get it. Um, okay, since you're a doula, what happens emotionally as someone approaches the end of life?
Depends on the individual and where they've really found themselves to be. If they've addressed, if they feel like they've addressed everything they think they need to. Did they, talk to the people they felt they needed to talk to? Did they make amends with anybody that they felt like they needed to make amends with? Is their planning settled? If they feel settled and they feel ready, then that's good. That's good for them. And that's their emotion can be fairly level. It can be easy. They can be in a what we'll say is a good place. They're comfortable. They're content. If this is sudden and they've not dealt with anything and they're not dealing with family members, or there's strife and discord, then that makes a difference too. Then they're going to be stressed. Clearly they're going to be stressed. And one of our goals is to help them to not be stressed. So we're stepping in, and depending on when we step in, um, is how much we can help them accomplish.
Okay. So what are some of the most common regrets people express at the end of time?
Okay, well, I've never heard anyone ever say, "I wish I would have worked more." That's a fact. No one says that. But it was, doing more of the things that I enjoyed doing, spending more time with my family. The regret of, I have spent hours and hours and hours working for what purpose? I wish I would have spent more time with my kids. I wish I would have spent more time with my spouse, my loved ones. Those are the kinds of the common the commonplace regrets. So for us, as doulas and coaches, is how can we help you get to the point where you feel like you've spent that time, where you've taken care of that. If everything else is settled, you can have all this time to spend with your loved ones. But
So
those are probably the two biggest ones.
So for the most part, when they're nearing their end, are they cognitive enough? Are they coherent enough to be able to express these regrets? Or does that usually come way before, when they,
Yeah, that usually will come before. I mean, if you're certainly if you're very close to death, the physical dynamic changes. But if you're, death is coming, but you've spent some time, preparing for that, then yeah, you can share those regrets, and say, what do I wish I had? Or, what would I have liked to have done? And can I still do some of that?
Right. Yeah, I could imagine it's tough, man. Like we spoke before when we first was talking about the topic, and it just had me thinking. I'm like, nobody ever wants to think about it. But it's the inevitable. And preparing for this podcast, it just made me think about my family members personally, and I'm like, it's tough. Like we know we all have our moments or our time where we got to go, but it just made me think. I'm like, dang, I ain't ready to see no more deaths because I think the last one was my grandmother, and that was tough for me. My grandmother was always strong. She was a woman of faith. She owned 5 churches, and and then the last time I seen her, it was her birthday. Right, she passed like 2-3 days. It was within a week after her birthday, so it's almost like God said, let the family come together. Like you were saying, nobody should die alone. Let the family come together one final time, and that's basically how it was. We didn't know, like she didn't have a time frame. She was living at home, but
sure.
It was tough because they didn't let many people inside, and me and my younger brother, they was like, she wants to see you. And when I seen her, she was only like 70 pounds. I was like, what happened to her weight? Because I just seen her the year before that, and it was she was healthy for her age. And so when I seen how small she was and how frail, I was like, oh no. It was like so morbid and weird for me to even enter the room. I was at the doorway, and she was like, she couldn't speak, but she did this motion me to come closer. And I gave her a hug. And it was just, I don't know. It just broke me because all you felt was her skeleton. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. So, I don't know. Like I said, this topic definitely made me think. And it's like, when you have a family member or a loved one that's facing the end of time or their end of days, and just seeing them every day or a couple times a week, I know that's got to be tough as well. I said this the other day on the podcast, like, I never went to the cemetery and spoke to the dead. 2 years ago when I went to North Carolina, because my grandmother, her main church, everybody on my father's side of the family, that's where we get buried, right? We got our own plots because so we own the land and stuff. And for the first time, I spoke to my grandmother, my grandfather, and I broke out into tears. It was the weirdest thing for me. It was so hard for me to speak. I got choked up, and it was so hard for me to leave after I spoke, And then I left. I remember leaving and saying, like, how do people do this every year on people's death days, anniversaries, birthdays? I don't see how people do it. So people that do that, I'm gonna say that they're strong. That was a moment of weakness for me. It was crazy, In that same church, even though my stepmom and my father are still living, they have their plot and everything dug already. And their purpose is, they don't want to pass, and the family said they couldn't afford it, so they have it. So before I get to my grandparents' grave, I pass my father and stepmoms, and when I leave, I pass again. So it just kept my mind thinking. I'm like, this is crazy. So that's why it's so important for us to hug on our loved ones, care for our loved ones, show up for our loved ones, and just let them know that they mean something. They have value in this world. And that's why, I like to give flowers whenever I can. It's very important.
Yeah, it's it is important to recognize the people that you love.
Right.
Routinely make them, know that they're there. Remember that they're there. There's always that. There's I can't think of the name of the song right now. There's a country song, but it'll say things like, you can call your mom, get on the phone and talk for a while because you never know when the time is up and you're not
Yeah.
going to get that opportunity again. So it really is important to connect.
Yeah, I would say an artist name, but I'm not gonna do it just in case I'm wrong. But you said
Yeah.
country song. Yeah, and yes, I do listen to country songs or
Me
music.
too.
But it was this. It's a woman. I believe it's a woman. Yes, it's a woman. It's a song. But it was about her father because her father had passed. So it was basically like she wished she had those moments with her father.
Yeah.
So songs like that just resonate with me. It stands out to me, and it was
Mhm.
beautifully sung. And
Mhm.
so yeah, so when you just said that, it just reminded me of that song. I wish I knew the name of it because it's
Yeah.
good. It's on my playlist on YouTube, but it's a very good song, and I love that. And sometimes I think a man get a little sentimental sometimes, but it's okay.
Mhm.
It's part of human nature,
Sentimental's okay though. I mean, you got to have that feel. You got to feel all the feels. Don't
and
don't
that's true. And one
don't
thing
not
I've learned,
feel them.
you're right. And one thing I know for sure is women love a man that shows vulnerability and that compassion. So
Mhm.
I have no
Mhm.
problem with it. I know who I am, and if I feel that feeling, I'm
Yeah.
gonna let it show. I'm
Yeah.
not one of the men that's gonna just shy away from. Like, oh no, this makes me weak. No, it makes me
Yeah.
human.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly. It does. It makes you human. But
so all right, so back to the topic for a minute. How can we prepare to start? I mean, how do people start to prepare for death without it feeling morbid?
one of the things is start to get your things together. And when I say get your things together, look at things like, um, if something were to happen to me tomorrow, what would I want to go on? And you're looking at things like, do I want to be on a ventilator?
Mm,
Do I want tube feedings? What do I want to have happen to me if I'm,
right,
say, in some tragedy, a tragic accident or something? You start looking at those things, and making a list.
right,
You choose, they have what they call a healthcare proxy. And the proxy is someone who can make your wishes known when you can't make them known yourself. So you're very careful about who you choose as your proxy because you want to know that that person can and will fulfill your wishes.
mm,
So if you say, I don't want to be on a ventilator, you don't want someone that says, she said she didn't want to be on a ventilator, but I really think she should be. So let's do
right,
that. So
right,
you want to be very careful about who you choose. You want someone that's going to fulfill your wishes.
right.
And
So that's
that's,
tough.
these are the things I want, these are the things I don't want. So
Right.
that's really a place to start.
Yeah, that's tough because thinking as you were saying that, I was thinking, I'm like, man, obviously I wouldn't be in a position where I'll be coherent enough or
Mhm.
just there conscious enough. But thinking about it, I don't think I would want that for myself, for my
Mhm.
family to see me struggling and suffering that way.
Yeah.
Um, and I know you said go through a proxy, but I've seen a lot of families where their parents or the loved ones didn't want that, but it
Mhm.
wasn't written down, and then they chose to keep them alive until they just
Yeah.
couldn't, to the doctor say, I think it's time. But yeah, just thinking about it, I wouldn't want my family, my kids to see me like that. Like I think
Yeah.
once
And
it's
that's
get
something.
that bad, it's over.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that you have to consider because if you don't have those kinds of things in writing, um, the medical team's job is to keep you alive.
Yeah,
So they're going to say, look, here's what we're looking at. We're going to pop them on a vent. If you don't have that in writing that you didn't want that, I mean, there are times when, medically they can override you. Certainly, the physician can override the decision of a place. You're gonna, they're gonna abide by the wishes of the individual. But yeah, that's the kinds of things that you choose. What kind of funeral do I want? Do I even want a funeral?
Right.
Do I, do I need a Christian burial? Do I want to do a mass and the whole thing and the viewing and everything? Or do I want something that's non-traditional? My husband is an ordained minister.
Okay.
So one of my friends is a funeral director, and she's like, "Will you do non-traditional services for us?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that." And what is it? Non-traditional means we're probably not going to go to church, but we're going to do as much or as little as this person wants, whatever they want. And I always laugh and I go, "Look, if you want AC/DC played at your funeral, you put that in writing, and that is what we'll do for you." So it's literally, those kinds of things that you want to look at, and that's
Right.
really where you start. And that's
Got you.
that's the beginning of everything.
So what should we or what should we not say to someone that is grieving and going through that tough time?
Well, we're back to they're in a better place. Um, they wouldn't want to see you crying like this. Those kinds of, and I call them platitudes. Um, to say to somebody that you're trying to boost their morale, or, trying to say, well, your loved one wouldn't want to see this or that, or know, I think they become natural to people purely because people want to make somebody feel better, you know. But they really they really discount the grief that person is having. It makes it feel like you don't really get what they're going through.
Right. So how does grief show up physically and mentally?
I totally missed that question. Sorry.
Oh, I said, how does grief show up physically and mentally?
Oh, absolutely. It shows up physically and mentally. So mentally, everybody thinks, okay, grief, I'm hurting, the pain, all of that, the sadness. But the physicality of it is, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're locked in that place of grief, you're not eating, you're not sleeping, you're not doing the things that you used to do. You can really put yourself into quite a depression if you allow that to function that way. But it does show up physically and emotionally.
Now, in your time, have you, obviously not the person that's facing death, but like a
Mhm.
family member or a loved one, have you seen a lot of them like let their body deteriorate that way? Like they just stop eating to the point where they're getting sick and nauseated. Have you seen that?
There I have seen people do that to themselves. And it's a difficult space to navigate with people
Right,
sometimes. Try to get
right,
them to say, but look, you're still living, so
right.
you need to live. And it's a balancing act for people. It really is.
Got you. So, okay, I got a good question. Something
Sure.
that I've heard a lot, and I've always it kind of went in one ear out the other, but it's been times that make me pause and say, why do people say that? What does it mean to carry grief well?
What does it mean to carry grief well? It means that you don't forget about the person that
Right.
you're grieving for, that you're missing. But to carry it well means you have been able to assimilate it into your life.
Mm,
You know that your loved one is no longer with you in physical form, but you're able to keep them in your heart, and with a kind of genuineness, and not a deep sadness. where it's, yes, for example, yes, I miss my father. I miss him terribly, and some days more than others, but I can think of all the wonderful things that we did together. And I can think of some of the, the crappy things that happened too, but but it's being able to live within that scope. Did I make
Right.
sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. So I asked that because it's like when we think about grief, right? We think about people that's sobbing or
Hmm.
sulking or just down and out. And I ain't talking about like a year removed, 2 years removed. I'm talking about like dealing with it in that moment. I've heard people say, "Oh, you deal with grief well," and I was like, "Well, how could it be grief, right? Because by definition, or the way I see it in my mind is, somebody that's down and out." But yeah, I've heard people say I deal with it grief well, like
Hmm.
so. It almost feels like that person wasn't important enough or didn't matter enough for you to have that, or you didn't have that connection, right? So
Hmm.
when I think about it, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like, wow, because if you had that connection, how can you deal with it well? So that was one of the curious questions I wanted to ask.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand that, and one of the things that we talk about is the ability to find joy in life, even though you have grief.
Right,
And people think that they are mutually exclusive, and they're not. They really, you learn to have them walk side by side.
gotcha.
Yes, I have grief, but I can still find moments of joy in my life.
Mm,
And it doesn't mean that I loved that person any less.
right,
Because people will say, well, I can't enjoy myself because, my husband's no longer here, and I would have done this with him, and now I can't enjoy myself to do it with anyone else,
right,
because I loved him so much.
right.
That's not it. It's the ability to balance the two.
So it sounds
So
like
yes,
that
I
takes
can
a lot
still
of
enjoy this, but I still love him.
so yeah, that sounds like it takes a lot of practice, a lot of discipline, and a lot of work to be able to balance that.
I mean, everything takes a lot of work. Sometimes
Yeah,
just getting out of bed in the morning takes a lot of work. But it yes, but you have to work with yourself to come to a point where you can find joy in life again.
gotcha. So how do people find meaning after loss?
How do you find meaning? You mean in general? How do you find meaning after loss?
Yes.
I guess is the question. I mean, yeah. I mean, life should be and what provides you with a purpose? Maybe your life does change drastically. Maybe you
Mm,
find that your purpose in life is something different than it was before. Maybe you find purpose in volunteering now, and but find something that you can put some life into.
right. Okay.
That's
I, I like
that's really how you find purpose.
I like that. Yeah, because I know a lot of people. Well, not I wouldn't say the majority of people. Majority of people, I mean, after some point they come to terms with it. But I do personally know people where they had a loss and they just not even on the anniversaries, nothing like that. Maybe once a month, twice a month, something like that. They just be sulking and depressed and say, "Oh,
Hmm.
because I lost this person, I don't have any purpose. I don't have any meaning." And I'm one of those people where I try to fix everything and fix everybody, but
Hmm.
it's moments like that I don't know what to say. So I try my
Yeah.
best, but at the same time, I have the wherewithal to know that I can't solve everything, and they need that
Hmm.
space. So I'll just play the background for a little bit and
Hmm.
just allow that person to bask in my presence, for lack of better words, and
Hmm.
just knowing that I'm there, right? Because a lot of people would just up and leave when somebody's down and out. So
Well,
I
very
know the
true.
importance of just being there in the present. So
Mhm.
sometimes I just do that and I don't have the words, but I think that my presence speaks in volumes.
Yeah, you don't always need words. You don't
Right.
always need words. Presence is huge. I am here for you.
Right.
You know, whatever it is that you need, I am here for you. And in the beginning, people will say, if you need something, call me.
Mm,
Yeah. The better response is, let me do this for you. Let me, opposed to asking what they need, is
right.
the approach of being more proactive than reactive is a better approach.
Right.
Yeah. So
So how do you support families when they are resistant to having conversations about that?
yeah, that's a toughie. I mean, if the family, if somebody doesn't want to have that conversation, you can't force them to have that conversation, right?
Right.
If you're with, I'm going to call them a patient because that's what I'm used to calling people, but if you're with someone who is your patient and their family doesn't want to deal, it can be difficult, but you have to try to, maybe mediate between the two sometimes, and sometimes we end up being mediators with families that disagree. But usually if we're present, we've been asked to be present. We don't just show up.
Got you. Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether it was a hospice or just a
Mhm.
nurse or a doula such as yourself. I mean,
Mhm.
I've seen and known a lot of people like the families. They be so irate and they channel that anger at the wrong people, right? I remember one instance where somebody's grandparent was 92,
Mhm.
and they was like, I think it's time, it's nothing else, and then the family, the way they was upset, it was very disrespectful. They was ready to rip heads off, and it's like
Mhm.
I get it. I understand. At 92, it's like, what are we fighting? What are we yelling and arguing for? Right. But again, like people grieve differently. And I know it was tough, but it's like, I feel like in moments like that, you need to just really zero in and just be more accepting of it. Right. But
Yeah.
that's, to each his own. I can't really speak for nobody else. Like I said, we deal with things differently, but
We
I
all
just don't
do, and
think like,
we're all equipped differently,
yeah,
and you just have to work around. You have to work with where people are, and that's the thing, is we have to meet them where they're at.
right. So excuse me. So what must I do to be at peace with myself so that I may have lived presently and die gracefully?
Okay. There are no I would never should anybody to death. Um there are no you musts, you should, you have tos. Um it's different for every person because I can't tell you what's going to make you feel at peace.
Mm,
I need you to tell me what makes you feel at peace. I
gotcha.
need you to tell me how or what do we not suspend the how. What would you like? What would you want?
Right.
And I will be there to assist you
Right.
to create that.
Now, if you was to ask me that, because I wasn't sure if you was really asking the question,
Mhm.
that's tough because I don't even know I don't even know how to answer that. Like, so how, so that I live presently and die gracefully, right? What must I
Mhm.
do to be at peace? You know, that's a tough one. I don't, only one thing comes to mind is, just make sure the people that I hold dearest or closest to
Mhm.
my heart, make sure they're present.
Mhm.
That's the only thing I can think of. But other than that, that's a tough question. And I know a lot of people might be able to be like, oh, this, and that, but I can't. I don't know.
Mhm.
Because thinking about it now, it's like morbid. And it's like, dang, do I really want to think about that? It's kind of eerie, right? And then if if I wait later on in life to be asked that question, it's like, well, I'm probably going through dementia or something, so I'm probably not coherent and
Mhm.
conscious enough. So that's tough. I don't know what I would do
Yeah.
or
I mean,
what needs to take place for me to be at peace. I don't know.
yeah. And
I don't know.
it's a process. It's a real process. So, for people who say, well, what do I do? I say, what? Journal.
Right.
Journal for yourself. What feels right. And you know what? If you decide you're going to make, a list of things that this is how I want it to be, that doesn't mean that, 2 days from now, you don't change it.
Right.
It's a process. It's trying to figure out, like anything, how do I live my life, and how do I maximize my presence and my ability to live well. And
Right.
living well doesn't mean you've got a bajillion dollars. And living well doesn't mean you live in a mansion. It's none of those things. It is that, for attitude of gratitude. It is that, you know, looking at life and saying, this is good.
Right.
This is a good life. I have people who love me and I love them. And, they it makes my life complete. It makes me
Got you.
feel whole. Those are the,
Now,
those are the things that, you say what's important.
yeah. Now, I'm not sure if this is a question you can ask, but it's a question specifically for you, I guess,
Okay,
out of
try me.
curiosity, right? What version of yourself would you like to be on your deathbed?
What version of myself would I like to be? I would like to be the person who knows they're content.
Mm,
This was, my life was good. I lived a good life. I had those people that I loved. I had people who loved me. I did good in the world.
right, right,
I was able to, no, was I perfect? No, but who is?
right.
But I was able to produce some good in this world, in this lifetime. I had, good for others.
Mm.
And that would make me content and happy.
So I know as we get older, we tend to look back on our life. Well, you say you have a good life, but I know a lot of us we look back on our life and say, "Wow, it's the end, and I didn't accomplish everything I wanted to, or I
Mhm.
wasn't exactly where I wanted to be." So are you in a space that as you get older, you're like, "Oh no, I have lived the life that I wanted to," or would you feel like it's things that you regret not having the chance to accomplish?
Do I think at this moment in time, there really isn't, I don't feel like there's anything enormous that I haven't accomplished in my life. It's really, for me, it's the smaller things that go on every day. You know,
Mm,
like I know that I've had a successful practice, that I've given my patients that I care for, nursing and massage. I've given them the best care that I can give. I know that when I've worked with families, I give them the best that I give them the best of myself that I can. And the same thing with my family, with my children, with my husband, with my friends. I give them the best of me, you know, and I'm good with that. I'm good with my relationships. So, it's those pieces. It's the pieces that come from somewhere else then, that say, do you are you comfortable with your family? Are you in a good place with this? Does this make you happy? Does that make you happy? You have to and you have to be able to separate it, like, well, oh, darn it, I did not get that Mercedes.
right.
Is that, how important is that on a scale of my life was okay and my life was really good? How is that important? Because it
Right.
becomes the question of what's important versus what's what's there to have.
Okay. Okay. So, what brings you comfort and strength during difficult times?
What brings me comfort and strength? My family and my friends, they really do, and my faith. But you know I can be I can tell my husband, you know what? I am now, I'm beyond being consoled right at this minute in time, and it's like, okay, when you're in a better, then let me just scream it out. Let me just cry it out, whatever it is, and then we can move forward with whatever, what's the next step. Those are the things. And I can, I have friends that I can call and I go, you know what? I am in a space today. I cannot do this, and I know they'll be
Right.
there and they'll listen, and
Right.
they'll understand. And expressing myself makes me feel better. So once I feel better, then, you know, I can
Yeah,
move on with my life.
that's why I always like to stress to people the importance of having community, right?
Yeah,
Because it's everything. We
it
all
is.
fall on tough times, and nobody wants to look up and not have that support, right? So it's
Right.
important to rally behind people so that people in turn will rally behind you.
Hmm.
Um, commun communication, community is very important, and if we don't have it, we got to find it, especially
Yeah.
as we get older in life, because those are the moments, those are the things, as I asked you before, that we look back on our life and we regret not having
Hmm.
that person, right? We might be bitter, we might be angry, we might be standoffish, we might push people away, but like now is the time for us to just find that community, embrace them, and continue
Hmm.
to give each, flowers and love and admiration,
Yeah.
support, and all those things, right? Because we don't, because we're gonna look up one day and it's gonna be over.
Yeah.
So that's why now, especially in this walk that I'm in right now, I try to show support. I do things differently now with this faith.
Hmm.
Uh I might be mad at somebody and I might feel like it's justified,
Hmm.
but it's something in me now that makes me go back to them like, you know what? I was wrong. I shouldn't have said what I said, or I shouldn't have went about it the way that I did, right? So
Hmm.
now I'm more apologetic,
Hmm.
and and it's crazy. Well, it's not crazy. I'm about to say it's crazy, it might sound, but it's not crazy. But I actually feel better once I apologize, right? It just,
Yeah.
if a lot of weight is lifted off my shoulders,
Hmm.
and it just makes me feel replenished, right? It just makes me feel like I won the lottery or something, just to have the wherewithal, just to have that drive and that willingness to forgive people, right? And just let things go. It's better for my health, because when we angry at somebody, it festers.
Yeah.
We're still thinking about it. Maybe not, in the moment, but maybe 15 minutes later, or anytime you
Hmm.
see that person, or you see that person's name, or hear somebody that had a similar name. Now we're thinking about that wrong or that argument. So it's important to apologize,
Hmm.
right? And to let it go, right? So those things won't bother you. And then in turn you'll be healthier. So these
Yeah.
are some
I
of the
mean,
things as I get older I'm picking up on.
oh yeah. I mean, forgiveness is huge. Forgiveness is,
Yeah.
but not even, forgiveness for the other person, forgiveness for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because and even if they're not present, like they don't know you forgave them,
Right.
but you do,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel better. And I mean, do you really need, there's go, they're living rent free in your head and
Right.
making you miserable. You're making you miserable. They're not,
Absolutely.
and they're not doing it to you. It's done, it's
A-
over with, and you continue to
Absolutely.
carry it. You make yourself miserable. Forgive yourself,
Absolutely.
let it go.
Absolutely. I just did it earlier. It's crazy. A lot of us won't admit to our faults, or
Mhm.
had a disagreement with somebody earlier, and we both went back and forth. And then once removed from the situation, I found out that I was wrong. And at
Mhm.
first, I said, "I'm not going to admit it. I'm just going. If this person don't bring it up, it's
Yeah.
it's fine." Then I said, "You know what? No." God leaves a different message on my heart. I I I got up. I went to the person. I'm like, first thing I want to say is I apologize.
Mhm.
Secondly, it's always a right way and a wrong way to go about it, and I went about it the wrong way.
Mhm.
And I said, thirdly, as much as it's gonna pay me to say it, you was right and I was wrong. the person felt good and I felt good. So
Yeah,
that's a win.
it's
That's
a
a
win.
win.
It's a win. And don't you feel a whole lot better after you do it?
I did.
Yeah.
It shows growth,
Mhm.
maturity, and yeah, it just makes you feel stronger because it gives you that superpower, right?
Yeah.
To be able to put yourself in a position where you can forgive, apologize, be kind, be nice, empathetic, all that stuff. It's an added superpower because a lot of people
Sure.
don't possess those characteristics and traits. So when you once you can harness that and use that, it just makes you more complete. It
Mhm.
gives you an added purpose, So I'm an advocate for a lot of things, and I can't be out here advocating and going against that. I can't tell people choose the high road, choose the better path,
Mhm.
right? And I don't do it myself. So, and helping others, I got to help myself.
Right.
So that's it. I like to spread the word. I like to uplift people, encourage people, and just I try to make everybody a little bit better than they was when they woke up. So
Right.
that's
And
just
if
me.
there you go. And if you can do that, that's a good life.
There you go.
There you
Appreciate you.
go.
Um, is grief a temporary phase to be forgotten, or to be gotten over, or a permanent shifting companion to be integrated in your life?
Yeah. Now, grief is not something that it's not a one and done. It's not a something that you get over. You know,
Right.
it's something that, like I said earlier, it morphs, it changes, it you live your life, well, and carry on. It's a companion. You're gonna have it,
Right.
and you're gonna have your moments where like I said, you really miss that person, and then other times you're okay. So like I said, my dad's been gone for 36 years, and there's moments I will break down and cry in the shower because oh, it's his birthday, or and geez, I miss him. But
Right.
you learn to live with it.
Right. Right. Does honoring a deceased loved one require holding on to the pain of a loss?
No, no, because and again, that goes back to the me talking about, gee, I can't have any joy in my life because if I'm joyful, then I'm somehow being disloyal to the person who died.
Right.
Because I'm not holding that pain. I'm not, grabbing on and hanging on to my misery. I should be miserable and, beat my chest because my loved one is gone. And that's not, there's no way to live.
Right.
You really, you're not truly living a life if you're going to spend your time.
Right. So is expressing rage or blame a healthy part of recovery?
Expressing rage or blame. You know what? There are, and a lot of people are familiar with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and she went through those stages of grief, and there were the 5 stages of grief, and there was this one, and then this one was, denial and anger, and it just in the moment, people are angry because it's a response to loss, and it's okay to be angry. The question becomes, how long do you hang on to that anger?
Right.
How does continually hanging on to that affect you? And that's where the physicality can come in, where you can be so angry that it you have to work through that anger. It's just like that forgiveness. you know I forgive them, I forgive myself, I forgive whatever.
Right. Right.
And I can function and live a
Gotcha.
better life.
Now, this next question, I mean, I'm pretty sure you know, you'll be a little biased to it.
Okay, I'll try.
but but is a grief coach equipped with handling deep complex grief, or should that be strictly the domain of a licensed therapist?
Ah, okay. The difference between coaching. Let's talk about the difference between coaching and counseling. Okay.
Okay.
And in the simplest of terms, and I'll probably get yelled at from somebody for this. In the simplest of terms, a counselor says, "This is your problem. How are we going to fix your problem?"
Right.
Okay. A coach says, "This is your problem. This is what happened. This is how it occurred. How are you going to move forward from here?" Okay. So, and there's room for both. You can have a coach and a counselor at the same time, not necessarily the same person. And the coach is going to say, how do I live? How does one live their life now from this point forward? How do we make improvements to do that? We don't approach you as something to fix. We approach you as something to uh, improve. How do we improve our life now?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is one small step you can take today
Mm-hmm.
to know your loved one will, who is still living? Hold on. What is one small step you can take today to know your loved one while still living your own life?
Mm. Now I have to think about how that sounded because I'm not sure if I got that one. So, what can I do
Yeah,
today
yeah, that's what
to?
I'm saying. Because the way I typed it is, yeah, I must have messed up or something.
Okay. So, what can I do
Um,
today to remember my loved one or to?
so I'm trying to see what I'm meant by that.
Okay.
I might move on from that one.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh, yeah, I'm not sure. We'll move past that one.
Okay.
So who in your life can you lean on for support, and what are you afraid to tell them?
What am I afraid to tell them?
Yeah.
Wow. Off the top of my head, I don't know what I'm afraid to tell them necessarily. Who can I lean on? Definitely my husband, my kids, my friends. I have like a close. I like to keep a tight rein on my
Circle.
friends. I have a few
So
very close friends, and then I have other friendships. But
right.
what am I afraid to tell them? I don't know. I can't honestly think of something that I would be afraid to tell someone right now. I do my very best to be as honest as possible. It's not. You're right. It's not always easy, but
Right.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I can answer that because be in the
Right.
moment.
I got you. I
You
got
know,
you. So
because like if you if you have if you have something on and I don't like the way it looks, I'm going to tell you don't look good.
as long as you're not a man saying that to a woman, I know that I've learned that in my life. Even when y'all ask, y'all really don't want us to answer that question. How does
Yeah,
this look?
I
We like,
do
yeah,
though.
this.
I do. I'll put something on and be like, "Does this look good?" And I'll be like, "I'm like, does it or doesn't it?" Because if you
Yeah.
say no, then I'm going to take it off. It's put something else on.
So have you ever felt some type of way if your husband say, "Yeah, I don't like it," or it's
Yep.
hideous? Have you
Yep.
you felt
Okay.
some type of way, or
Yeah.
you just say, "Okay, okay"? See,
Yeah.
I guess that's why you got 39
Well, if
years.
I really like it, because the caveat is, if you really like it, that's fine, but I don't like the way it looks. So I'm like, yeah,
Right,
you know what? Yeah, maybe it doesn't look quite right, and
right,
so maybe I'll change, or maybe I won't. But I'm okay with it either way.
got you. All right. So we talked about death a little bit. We talked about grief. So what I want to talk about now is what is living a good life, right? So
Yeah.
what does it mean to live a good life?
Hmm. What does it mean to
That's
live
the
a good
question.
life? That's the
Yes.
question. So to live a good life is really living a life that makes you happy. It's living a life that makes you have the ability to genuinely be proud of yourself.
Mm.
Okay? I mean, living a good life kind of leads into um, leaving a legacy. What is my legacy? What am I going to leave behind when I'm gone? And again, people think, oh, I can't leave a legacy because I'm not wealthy. I can't leave a legacy because I can't build a library. That's not what we're talking about. Leaving a legacy is what you leave behind. What have you touched in this life? Who have you helped?
Right.
Whose life have you been a part of? And it's things like when someone says to your kids, oh, I remember your mom or your dad, they did such and such a thing for me and I'll never forget it.
Right.
Those are the things. Those are the legacies. It's all the touch points that
Okay.
become important. And that's what living a good life is really about.
Okay. So talk about good life and what's important. How
Mhm.
about this? Is happiness or meaning more important to a good life?
Well, if we're lucky, we get both.
Right.
If we're lucky, we get both. And I think that we can draw happiness from meaning. If we can create something meaningful in this lifetime, then I think we can be satisfied and happy about that we did that.
Okay. So you think the way I think, because I was thinking the same thing. Like,
Mhm.
if the meaning, right, is out there, you should take solace in that, knowing that, you made an impact. So
Yeah.
in taking solace, you will find that happiness in doing so. So that's where my mind was going as well.
Mhm.
But I know some people feel like, you know, being impactful and having that meaning, that sense of meaning, is more important than their happiness. And I've heard a lot of people say that, especially workaholics. People work, 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 and they couldn't tell you what a quality of life is like.
Right.
And they're always miserable because they looking at it like my perception is everything. Leaving
Mhm.
a legacy is everything, and my
Mhm.
health is not important, and my happiness is not important. So I felt like that was a good question to ask. uh, so, does the good life mean maximizing pleasure or minimizing pain?
Neither.
You said neither. Oh,
It's walking a line between the two, because there can be good that comes out of pain sometimes.
mm,
You and there can be things that are not so good that come out of pleasure. So
right,
it's really, trying to discern what what's important between the two.
right. And it's sort of like the last question I asked. It's like they kind of go hand in hand. So
Mhm.
I feel like maximizing your pleasure, right, is just like having the luxury of being able to do a lot of things and doing all the things that you dreamt of, right? But when you minimize pain in your life, right? And
Mhm.
I think pain means your struggles, your stress. So when
Mhm.
you minimize that, then you're putting yourself in a place where you're maximizing on your pleasure, right? On the
Mhm.
benefits of life, So it's kind of like the last thing where we said it's got kind of goes hand in hand.
It
But
is. I mean,
yeah,
you're constantly learning from both, and then
right,
navigating from there.
okay. So is a good life determined by the liver that of that life, or by the assessment of others?
Oh, I think it should really be determined by the liver of the life. It's At the end of the day, what other people think about you is none of your business.
Mm.
It's
So, but go ahead.
if you feel that your life has been good, who is someone else to judge? And
Right,
by the same token, who am I to judge what is a good life for you?
right. So what I was going to say is, the pressures that society put on us makes it hard.
Mhm. Sure.
It makes us feel like if it's like we're all chasing that acceptance, that reassurance from people, and we don't have that. It's it's
Hmm.
it's it's tough. So I think a lot of us because we're seeking that acceptance and that reassurance, I think we focus our energy on trying to please people
Hmm.
as opposed to what we really want out of life,
Yeah,
right?
it's true. We spend a lot of time trying to please other people,
Right.
because that external validation is always something that people strive for. And I think there and some people figure it out and some people don't, but there comes a point in your life where you just go, I honest to God don't care what you think. you
Yeah.
know this makes me happy and I am a good person, and so there it is. you know
Um, does the meaning of life have to be purposeful or could it be enjoyable?
that has to be both.
Mm,
You can't you I don't think that you can have joy without purpose. In some respects you can't. You should your purpose should bring you joy.
mm.
um so
So
yeah.
what would you say to the people that's not aware, they're not conscious of what their purpose is, and they internally and externally from the naked eye, we look at them like, wow, they're always happy, they're enjoying life, but they may not know what their purpose is in life. They just go day by day, you know.
They do, but I think that most, if it came right down to it, people would people could probably tell you what they thought their purpose in life was.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't have to be monumentous. It doesn't have to be big, this big thing that's out there, outside of them and outside of um, those they love. Sometimes the purpose of life is to be a good person and be there for the other people that you encounter.
I love how you say be a good person for people, man, because that's something that I hope to see more of in
Hmm.
society and in the world, right? Like
It's kind of
if we
rough right
just
now,
love
isn't
on
it?
yeah, I mean, if we just love on each other a little bit more, just be there, show up for each other a little bit more,
Yeah.
the world will be better. And I don't
Yeah.
know why people don't look at it that way. You hear a lot of people have these rallies, these protests,
Mm.
and they be against all this stuff and all this hatred, and they be for this or they be for that, or it's this side versus this side. They
Mhm.
never take this a step back and say, "Wow, if we show more positivity, if we come together, we'll be all better." And
Mhm.
I just never understood that. People are so quick to point the finger. People are
Mhm.
so quick to say this versus that, her versus her, him versus him, but instead of coming together. And that's
Yeah.
why, again, I can't stress it enough. That's why community is very important. And you women are very good at that. I think naturally, you guys, you women are y'all just bred that way where naturally y'all just come together. Y'all like women friendships. I said this in a previous podcast. Like I think us as men should model our friendships after you guys. Because I know when two girlfriends, right? And I ain't all mean girlfriends like relationships, but
Right.
like
Right.
like friendships, right?
Mhm.
Two girlfriends when they break up, it feels like a breakup, like a romantic breakup, right?
Yeah.
And that's powerful. That's deep when you think about it. But men, we lose a friend. We're like, I don't care. It's whatever, right? And
Yeah.
and
But do
sometimes
you
we
really
might
not
care.
care?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we might care, but it's like it's embedded in us. We just grew up programmed and brainwashed to think one way. But we
Yeah.
don't, we won't, and we don't come together like women. Like, oh, y'all treat y'all relationships with your
Mhm.
girlfriends, it's like sacred ground. Like, no, this is forever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all go into your girlfriend relationships as you would in a romantic relationship. And that's deep. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And it's just inherently like that for you guys. And again, I think men should just model our friendships after you guys, you know? And since I started this whole month, and I'm gonna continue to do it. Like I want to give you your flowers because we're still in the month of March, Women's History Month, and I want to say I appreciate you for all the contributions you do, and
Mhm.
anything positive you do in this world for yourself, for your loved ones, for the community. I just want to say thank you and continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Because I don't know if anybody else told you that this month or today, the last hour, but you can count me in because I do
Well,
appreciate all women, man. Like
yeah.
that's one thing God did right, amongst others, but
It's
he
one of
gave
them,
y'all
huh?
life. Yeah.
Well, we
So,
appreciate that.
so can money buy happiness, or does it just alleviate stress?
Oh, wow. No, money can't buy happiness. That's the come on, the Beatles said money can't buy you love, right?
Right.
It's yeah, no. It doesn't. It makes sometimes it makes some things easier. Sometimes it makes the road a little easier to traverse, but it doesn't necessarily make you happy. I sincerely know a lot of rich people who are very unhappy.
Unhappy. Yeah, I've heard. I don't know rich people,
Financially
but
rich
I've
people.
yeah, I don't
Mhm,
know any, but I've heard of it. I've read about it. It's
mhm,
true, and you can just see it. A lot of
mhm,
people, prominent people, infidelity or suicide, or
mhm,
it's yeah, it feels good in the moment, but like we all fall short. We all go
mhm.
through our moments on our dark times, and then it's like when you look down off your high horse, and ain't nobody there for you, oh, you gonna feel it,
Yeah,
and it's about how you cope. If you ain't got good coping mechanisms and you rich, mm,
doesn't matter.
you
If you
be
don't have, and if you have friends that are your friends because of what you can give them, they're not your
mhm,
friends.
absolutely,
So
absolutely, and that's why we gotta, for lack of better words, you gotta keep the grass cut short so we can see the snakes. You gotta be
there you
mindful.
go. I like that. I like that.
So, does it, achieving success always include being happy?
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. It should.
Mm.
It should.
That- That's a tough one. It should. I agree with you when you say
Yeah,
it should, but I don't. So we all human at the end of the day, right? So just because
for
you're
sure.
successful doesn't mean you're being happy, right? It's a lot of successful, as you just said, rich people, right? Like it's a lot of, because rich people are successful, right? So just because you're successful don't mean you're happy or you're in a good space, right? Because sometimes you're successful because you're a workaholic and you push everybody else away. And when you do that, you always gonna have struggles. You still there? Uh-oh. I think we lost Christine for a minute. Christine? Well, she might jump back in. I'll give her a couple minutes to see if she do. But yeah, it's been a good conversation so far. Yeah, so when Christine and I first was talking about this topic, I was like, yeah, that's it's a little morbid. She said that's not really morbid. It's because death is something that we should all speak on and embrace and prepare for. So I was like, all right, I'm willing to talk about anything. So here we are, it went better than I thought it would. Because yeah, I wasn't sure what direction we was gonna go. But yeah, she was like, just come up with some questions and I'll answer them and I'll elaborate and we'll just have a good time. So again, here we are. I love doing these things. As you guys know already, I'm like episode at 78, 79, something like that. I'm not sure. Um, okay, yeah, she just messaged me and said that she lost power at her house. So yeah, so I was basically gonna just like, close out. Um, so for all the viewers that's watching now or on a replay, continue to like, share, comment, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and you'll see all the food and all the posts and then all the episodes that I post. It's always here. This, my YouTube channel is where you can find me. It's youtube.com/ Desmond Black 620. Yeah, and just stay up to date. I'm up to date with all the content that I put out there. Uh, but All right, I'm gonna close out, and everybody just have a great rest of the night. And I appreciate y'all.